Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound, and we're back with another edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. This time for, well, a very somber day. 20th anniversary, of course, of the September 11th attacks. One of those things that just continuously etch in my mind. Very vivid day, and it'll live on to be one of those days that will just continue to be in my mind for the rest of my life. And as a kind of way of paying tribute, we're going to go ahead and ask for a little moment of silence for the next few seconds. And thank you to all the servicemen out there, and of course our fire department, police, and people working in the medical field, and the EMTs and ambulances out there, doing your grind every single day. You guys are fantastic, and thank you for all of your hard work and dedication. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into to this video here. If this is your first time here, welcome. What we normally talk about on this video is any sort of legitimate, very interesting pocket change or coin roll hunting find. And typically we look at things like errors, US mint errors, varieties such as double dies, repunchment marks, transitional changes, that sort of thing. And key dates. There are key dates that people do find out there for a relatively low amount of money. That just makes for an easy target for flipping to make a little bit of extra money. And I think because of how close we are to the holidays, people are beginning to consider other ways to make a few bucks. All right, there are more labor-intensive, much more strenuous things you can do. I find just sitting down at your favorite desk and going through money can be one of those ways. Not only is it kind of therapeutic, and I know I sound like a psychologist right now. I know it is for me. It's very therapeutic. I like to just turn on the radio or play some classical music, things like that. Look through coins, and you find some pretty cool stuff. Whether you add to your existing collection, if they certainly fit in there, or if you do it to kind of make a few extra bucks. I mean, it's not a get rich quick type scheme. It never was, but if you could find a coin that's worth $5-10, that is a heck of a win all day long. We're going to talk about those coins. In addition, you'll find that the coins on the list are ungraded. None of them are certified by any of the big companies like PCGS or NGC. Keep in mind it costs money to get your coins graded, and there are a bunch of coins that just don't warrant that extra amount of work and money being spent. So please do take that into consideration, unless it's something you want to keep in your collection for the rest of your life or longer. You could certainly do that. And I know of a few people that enjoy doing that, even when you tell them otherwise. But there is that direction as well. So all of the sales are from the last 24 to 48 hours, all coming from eBay, and we are using the raw seller images on here to help kind of not only show you and showcase what is acceptable for photography purposes, but also ways that you can improve your photography skills, to really showcase those coins you want to move on the secondary market. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first coin. We have a really nice condition 1957D. It's a very common date wheat cent. Of course, you're not going to have any trouble finding these at coin shops or at the local shows. Probably not too easy to find and change. Just coins that are like 60, 70 years old are getting more and more tough these days. But this is a coin here that has a few pretty interesting things going on with it. Most notably, you have a lot of die chipping in the date area. So you can see it there on the top of the 1. Actually, it looks like a letter R almost, like a lowercase one. You have a die chip that fills in the top curl of the 9, and you also have a die chip in the 5. So we do have some die issues going on here. We're beginning to see some cracks in the armor on this particular obverse die. This one right here, surprisingly, sold for $11. All right, so even like kind of like minor die chips, little die cracks, things like that. If you're able to take phenomenal close-ups, that might just be enough for you to sell these coins. And by the way, this was thrown on eBay as a regular auction listing, probably a 5 or 7 day, and 3 bids total got this one to $11. We do have a number of these coin lots. The first one that we have here is actually a pair of 1990 Denvers. These are Denver minted Lincolns. They're all struck off-center by a certain degree. The coin on the left is off-center by, 65-70%, and the coin on the right is pretty close to it. These are copper-coated zinc planchets, so keep that in mind. These right here will require a little bit more attention on the storage side, so you want to make sure that if you are a collector of these type of coins, that you are indeed storing them in a relatively humid-free, moisture-free environment. All right, so your coins will last a lot longer that way. But the really cool thing about off-center struck coins is that they are being collected by not only how far off center they are, but also by full date. So if a collector is able to identify the date along with the mid-mark, that's also going to play a huge factor too. They will generally pay more money for these coins. So your opportunity right here, more than likely you're not going to find these in pocket change. That's just kind of like a, out of reach expectation with these. But if you do find them like a local coin show and they're selling these for like $5-10, and they have full dates, that'd be a worthwhile pickup, not only for a collection, but also for, possible profit taking there. This one right here, 5 bids altogether, sold for $18.49. I like to keep an eye out on lots because it sometimes presents opportunities to buy the coins at a much cheaper rate because anything over 1 coin in a listing is considered bulk. Now I know we only have 2 coins here, but it is what we classify as a quantity or bulk type of listing. There's the reverse of the coins, so they definitely have little issues, carbon spotting, things like that. It's actually quite common to see on these. And then we also have another pair from the same seller. We actually have 2 different dates. We have a 1997 and a 2001, both Philadelphia coins. Each one is off-center by a slight amount. I would say the 97 is probably off-center by about like 10%. The 2001 is like 15%, so it's slightly larger. This pair of coins sold for $15.49. And that's with 2 bids combined. And then if we look on the reverse, you get to see what the coins look like. Relatively problem-free, but again, the 2001 exhibits a few kind of like little grease pockets and carbon spotting. You always see more concentration of this darker grease on off-center struck coins, or kind of like similar type of errors, broad strikes, things like that. Now this would be a really cool cherry pick. Now I know my local coin shop has just bulk buffalo nickels. Kind of, some of them are probably dateless, but a good deal of them do have actual readable dates, but they're just like in low condition. These particular bulk lots present a really, really nice opportunity to cherry pick various varieties. There are a number of double dies. Of course, there are the 2 feather abraded die nickels to look for. And of course, we have this one right here. It's one of my favorites. And normally, when you come across bulk buffalo nickels, a dealer will ask anywhere from 50 cents to $1 a piece. So, it's a relatively low investment requirement for something like this. But if we look close enough, this is the 1936 S over S. You can see that secondary curl underneath the primary S. So this is a S over S South RPM. I believe this is also in the Cherry Picker's Guide. So it's got a little bit of extra cachet to this particular variety. This one sold for $10.94. If you found enough of these and they're relatively problem-free, I mean, you can easily 10x your money all day long on these. I've probably have a good maybe 30 or 40 of this particular variety. They are very common, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time right now wanting to part with any of them. You know, at the end of the day, if you don't need the money and you just like these earlier Buffalo nickel varieties, you know, just keep them. Now this one's cool. I was actually going to make this particular $1 bill right here. And by the way, it's the first piece of paper money we're talking about on this video today. I was going to make this kind of like the subject piece of the day. It's a 2013, so it's a relatively newer note. $1 Fed Reserve note. And this one, as you can see, is not only a star note, but it's also got a relatively low serial number. And to kind of like add a little extra syrup on the proverbial pancakes, you know, it's also a binary. It's only got 2 digits in the serial number. A true binary, you know, by definition, are zeros and ones. But the word binary has been thrown around for any combination of two numbers in a serial number string. And it's mostly for paper money collectors that covet fancy serial numbers. So this one kind of has it all. As you can see, the note is not in fantastic high-grade condition. Which will help kind of like help you guys out in identifying, you know, specific types of notes that don't necessarily have to be perfectly crisp right from a BEP strap to get any sort of secondary market love. This particular note sold for $80. I mean, who would have thought that something like this would be worth $80? You know, would be kind of like the question of the day. But you can just see all of the wrinkles and kind of like fold marks on the reverse of the note. Definitely keep an eye, you know, out for things like this. They pop up when you least expect it, and they're actually a lot more available than you would expect as well. Not much to see here. This is just a really pleasing looking Lincoln Memorial cent. There's a lot of weakness on the obverse of the coin, which indicates a strike through of some sort. The dies appear to have had a fresh set of grease applied. You know, you got to put grease on the proverbial squeaky wheel to keep it going. So that's just kind of to help combat wear and tear of these mint presses. So it happens quite frequently. And when a coin is struck through a, you know, copious amount of grease, you get a lot of weakness. Okay, you don't get a lot of the design details struck up completely. This one right here, as you can tell, has circulated quite a bit, and it's sold for $24. So that is quite the nice return on the coin that otherwise a lot of people have overlooked. And here's a couple more. This time we have a couple extremely dramatic Washington quarters that were struck through a ton of grease. All right, these are not die adjustment strikes. You do have a full rim on both examples, which kind of debunks that theory or that type of error. But yeah, there was a lot of grease on these set of dies before these were struck. These are two separate coins in the same lot, by the way, and they are both Louisianas. These are 2002, I believe. But this pair right here sold for $50. All right, so that's not too bad. I think this is one of those listings where you can buy them and possibly sell each coin for $50 because these are so wildly dramatic in its strike through that, you know, some of the most radical examples of errors can fetch quite a bit more money. So I think there was some opportunity to buy these and relist them for between $40 and $50. You know, you could easily 1.5 to 2x your money on something like this. This is a singular coin. It is another Louisiana 2002, and you can barely see a P mint mark, but that's exactly what it is. But yeah, you got that same weakness, ladies and gentlemen, although to a much lesser degree compared to the previous two coins. Still a struck through grease example here, and this one coin sold for $12.95. You can just see the price difference based off of the amount of strike through. Man, we have a nice little run of Statehood quarters. We have this one here. It's a 2000p New Hampshire this time. man, has it really been 21 years since this coin came out? We got the Old Man of the Mountain reverse design, probably one of the least stimulating Statehood quarters throughout the whole entire series. But yeah, you see something kind of funny here because it is funny. It's completely missing the nickel reverse layer on this copper nickel clad, and you have all of the copper showing through quite well on this one. It's actually quite neat, and it's very surprising to find coins on eBay that have sold for any amount of money that of this type that are not graded. Usually you see these coins in a graded holder. This one sold for $98.50. I believe a best offer was accepted. The original asking price, I think, was like $119 or something like that. Now here's a really innocent looking coin, and these are still out there, and they're still worth pulling out of your change. I think at the end of the day, this is a coin that a lot of people just want to find on their own because they are quite common. 2015 Philadelphia Shield Cent. This one is well known for one of the most dramatic doubled dies, and is WDDO number 6, or doubled die obverse number 1. Through what was it? The other, not Wexler, but the other attributor. But here are some close-ups of spots that you'll look at to help you out with this attribution. You're going to see a lot of doubling here in the date. That's probably one of the most common areas. To go along with Liberty, you just see these letters stretched north-south on there. So these letters are a lot longer than they should be, and then to a lesser degree, you'll have some doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust." You'll see it better on the word trust. You can see the letters are a lot more thicker, and "In God We" is a little bit thinner, but you still see a little bit of remnants on there. This one sold for $16.45. The coin has circulated a little bit, but I would say it's probably a low mint state example. We got more penny lots. This time we have a trio of 1999 Lincoln Memorial cents. They're all off-center by certain amounts. 2 of the coins have full dates. This middle one, I'm not sure if it is a 99. But the seller had stated that this is just a 1999 lot. Probably bar none, my favorite's going to be this first coin right here. You have a full date. It's so far more off-center. With still that full date, so I think that's pretty neat. This third coin has kind of like that double profile thing happening, and that's simply just the pull away of the copper plating on that coin, which is quite normal for both off-center strikes and broad strikes. Only because when you have the metal flow going outwards, it's also stretching that very thin copper plating as well. This one right here sold for $33.70. I think all the money's been made on this one. This wouldn't be a lot that I would personally invest money in for the sake of flipping, because I think this one's maxed out. The reverse, all the coins are really nice and clean. They're all mint state. 1998, I always like to talk about one of these coins, at least once a week, just so we could keep tabs on the actual market of these. These used to be coins that you could buy about 2 years ago for around $5. They've kind of crept up in value here with the whole coin boom and all that stuff in the last 12 to 18 months. But we have a 1998 wide AM Lincoln Memorial. So it's got that design, reverse design or die that's intended for the proof strikes. So you have a pretty nice gap between the A&M and America, and that's what you're looking for. This one right here, again, not a world-beating coin, but if you did need some sort of example of this wide AM type, and as you guys know, they made them in 98, 99, and 2000, 99 being the most valuable and the most scarcest, the three. This one sold for $14.29, so that's not too bad. All right, so the next one that we have is going to be, sorry about that, a little technical difficulties here. We have another 2015 Lincoln Shield. This time we have a coin that is slightly off-center, but for the most part what we have is a tilted partial collar. So just to kind of rehash how something like this happens. When these the blank planchets or the blank discs, you know, to kind of keep it layman's terms, when they're being fed into the striking chamber, there's a couple of things that happen. There's a couple moving parts that help along in this. You know, you have the feeder finger, which feeds the blank into the striking chamber area. And you also have a collar, which is just a sheath that moves up and down. It's spring loaded. And the collar holds the coin in. All right, so as long as you have that, and if it's like a denomination like a dime or $50 or a quarter that has like the reeds on the edge, the collar will have that on there as well. So the collar will hold the coin in place while it's being struck. Now, there's going to be times where there's going to be a malfunction on that collar mechanism where it's either going to be tilted, it doesn't quite go up all the way, or it doesn't engage at all. All right, and that's how you get broad strikes. These coins are being struck without the aid of a collar to keep the coin in place. Therefore, all the metal flow kind of has to go out like a pancake. This one right here, pretty nice example, sold for $17.45. These do kind of come up on occasion in your coin roll hunting activities. You'll generally, and I've found a few of these over the years, you'll find a roll that's going to have like a coin that looks like maybe is a slightly bigger denomination, like a nickel or something. You know, it's kind of stick out on that paper, the roll paper rather. And that's going to be one of those things you're going to look out for. Yeah, not bad. $17.45. I mean, that's easy money all day long. Now here's a broad strike. So this coin right here, this it is a 1987 P Roosevelt dime that was struck without that collar engaged during the strike. So you see the metal flow go outwards. And this coin right here sold for $16.66. What I like most about this coin is just its overall condition state. It's really nice with lots of luster. I really don't have a lot of negative things to say about this coin. I think this is a collector example. The broad strike's well centered on there, which a lot of collectors do love. And here is a side-by-side comparison of what the size of a dime compares to with another larger denomination as far as like coin size. So with a Broadstruck Roosevelt dime, they come pretty gosh darn close to the size of a standard Jefferson nickel diameter. So even ugly, worn, circulated coins need some attention. They need a little bit of our love as well, because there are collectors that even look out for less than desirable eye appeal type coins. We have here a 1940S. Even though it's a San Francisco, this is a coin that's very, very available, high mintage. But check out the reverse. You know, we have some detached lamination stuff going on here, which is really cool. I mean, it looks like a piece of paper being ripped and shredded. And that's what this one looks like right here. It's just a really nice example in spite of its grade. But would you believe that this one sold for $20.50? And that's with only 14 bids. These are a type of coins that probably like 10, 15 years ago, I would just toss back into a wheat cent bag. I used to go through so many wheat cent bags. I was probably going through easily 50,000 to 100,000 coins per month, not knowing any better. You know, I was just looking for key dates and, you know, specific dates that had major double dies and all that, and really did not pay too much attention to things like this. But I'm glad even today that I'm able to tell you guys that these are definitely worth pulling out, because, you know, $20, man, that's not nothing. Yeah, that's for sure. That's better than a sharp stick in the eye, you know, in most cases. And by the way, 14 bids combined to get it to this amount of money. Now this is pretty. 1985p Washington quarter, very well lustrous. I mean, there's no issues with this coin at all. High grade example. It's off center by about like 20-25%. So that's the big sell point with this error. And this one, through 4 bids, sold for $35.98. That is a stunner. I like this one. We have another lot, this time a lot of 6. All right, and this is actually from the same seller that I've talked about in the previous, you know, PCMR videos, where he's selling lots of 6. The same guy. We do have a number of them here. One of them, not too fantastic. Actually, it has a full date. All the other ones do not have, either dates at all or partial dates. So, you know, take it for what it is. It's not a super desirable lot, but also just keep an eye out for how much these sell for. I mean, if you could pick up a lot like this for like 15, 20 bucks, that would be a huge score, you know, especially if you're a reseller and you're looking to flip these individually. These coins right here sold for $28, and that's with 12 bids combined. There's the reverse of each of the coins. They're in pretty decent shape. Now this one's really neat. This is the first time I've ever talked about this particular error, but we have a 1985 $1 Federal Reserve note. Now from the face of the note, I mean, it looks completely normal. You know, there's nothing going on with the serial numbers. There's nothing, you know, with the printing on both the first and third printing that would just kind of like draw your attention to it. But all the spice on this one is going to be on the reverse. It's either one of two things. It looks like an obstruction. So there was something on the sheet before this was printed over, or it's a board break. Now, board break is something I've never talked about, but that's simply a breakage in the board that holds the plates. All right. So when you get that, obviously you're going to be missing quite a bit of design detail on one part of the print, and you always have a very sharp defined line that separates the true kind of like real strength of that printing to where there's a missing piece of that area. But this one right here is just really cool. It's sold for $64.29. Board break errors don't really get a lot of, you know, attention in the marketplace, which is unfortunate. Because, you know, you look at a note like this and automatically you think, oh yeah, this thing's worth like a couple, $200 or $300. But these are probably some of the most undervalued errors in paper money collecting today. All right, statehood quarters. I've always proclaimed that any sort of error on a statehood quarter is quite an anomaly. All right, you just don't see them that often. They're quite scarce. You know, what we have here is a 1999D Connecticut statehood quarter. The coin doesn't look to be in great shape. It looks like it might have been cleaned at one point. It just got that dull gray surface to it. This one right here is sold for $13.50. So it's a very minor off-center strike, maybe 10% on its best day. But definitely keep an eye out for these. Apparently they're being found out there in circulation, and there are people that are paying more attention to these. Here's another nice off-center strike. I was hoping that this would be a wide AM. I mean, that would just make this thing a little bit too special, all right, in my estimation. But it's a 1999 Lincoln Memorial. It's off-center by about 15-20%, somewhere around there. Overall, clean coin. I mean, you could hardly go wrong with something like this. It is one of the more common dates for off-center strikes of the modern era. This particular coin sold for $42.77, which is about 3 times what the normal rate is for this coin. So I think the eye appeal wins on this one, and that's what probably more than likely contributed to its high sale price. Here's a 1998 Lincoln Memorial. This time, this is a dual error type coin. It's not only Broadstruck, all right, but it's also got an indent, as you can see there on the front of the coin. So there was something that was overlapping it during the strike. They call that bonded, but the other piece is not bonded to this coin at all. This one right here sold for $52. Again, this is something that maybe you could cherry pick at a local shop or show. If the price is not too out of whack, you could pick this up for a relatively good price and add it to your collection or resell it. Another ugly coin. This one looks like it was probably painted at one point. It's got that traditional kind of red look. Looks like it's been painted and then circulated over a number of years. And I've seen quite a few of these, seeing as how I used to be an avid hunter of wheat scent bags. But this is a 1940S. I mean, this sounds like a very familiar date that we have talked about. But this one is notorious for having these retained die breaks or pre-cuds on the reverse and also at the base of his Abraham Lincoln's bust as well. So these are the pre-developments of a full-blown cud. The die was almost there from the actual piece falling off of it. And, it was still striking up the details of that loose piece of die still remaining on there. But even coins of this particular circulation, man, I mean, I tell you what, do not throw these back. A lot of people have thrown coins like this back because guess what? People have said so in my comments and through emails and all that. I'm shaking my head. I'm like, if we haven't learned at least one thing through all this, is to keep all the uglies too. This is a coin that sold for $12.54, and that's 7 bids altogether. So there is some interest in coins like this, regardless of its appearance. So we have a few coins left on this week's Pocket Change Market Report, and I would say they're probably the ones with the most amount of beef. It's like a triple cheeseburger, stacked high with bacon and more burger meat. I don't know. But it's a 1980 Lincoln Memorial Cent that has a cud right over the word trust. So this is what a full-blown cud would look like after that piece of die had fallen off. Again, it's the wear and tear factor, and that nothing's perfect. Nothing ever continues on in its immortal life. These minting presses and dies go through the paces every single day. Just a really, really fun looking coin. This one right here sold for $35.95, and that was a total of 18 bids that got up to that point. This one's just fantastic. Some would call this the godless cud, which is appropriate because it covers not only the word God, but in and we and part of trust. This thing is huge. It's enveloping pretty much most of the obverse, again, with something like this. And this is raised, by the way. This is pretty easy to spot, and you can feel it. But it's also got that corresponding weakness on the reverse as well. So you want to make sure you double check that on this particular example, just so you know you have a legitimate type coin. 1976, again, this is not rocket science. It's not the most scarcest coin out there in circulation. But gosh darn, this is one of the most priciest errors you could find today. This particular example is in pretty nice shape as well. This one sold, get this, for $264.95. That's through 25 bids. To a lot of people, that's a car payment. You could buy a Nintendo Switch with this kind of money, or get pretty gosh darn close to it. If you look at the various different types of parallels that's involved with like the sales of these things, it speaks volumes. You tie it into things that people love and like these days, and you're going to see the justification for finding these. Again, can't stress enough. Cud die breaks of any form, whether they're retained cuds or small cuds or, anything. They're all being scooped up in the marketplace. These things, I would say, probably involve the top 5% of errors being sold on eBay right now at probably some of the most ridiculous prices. It's not overpriced. I think it's right in the market, but, there's the desirability for these cannot be understated. All right, more than likely you're not going to find one of these, but it's not graded. It's a 1901 Indian head cent. It's off-center by a little bit, or you could even say it's probably Broadstruck as well. But for the sake of argument, I'm going to say this one's off-center by about 10%. Any sort of errors during this era of coins, Indian head cents, Buffalo nickels, Liberty heads, Mercury dimes, Barber series, anything like that, man, they're just really, really sought after. They're drying up a lot quicker than I had anticipated. This one right here sold for $5.25, $525. Wow, a pretty nice coin, very high grade. 2000p Jefferson nickel, really nice turn of the century millennium coin here. This one is off center by a small bit, maybe 10% or slightly less. The coin is in just really great shape. It looks like it came out of a BU mint sewn bag of 2000 Jefferson nickels. So there is that. This one sold for $14.45. How about a 2020p Marsh Billings Rockefeller? This is, of course, a date in which if you were going to, kind of go for the low-hanging fruit of errors, 2020 certainly had its fair share of coins to share with the general public. But we got another one here, and this one I would assume is easily overlooked just because of how busy the reverse is. But we have a little bit of the feeder finger scrapes, and we also have a pretty nice strike through here. More than likely it's going to be grease and debris that, kind of make that up. Which again has plagued the 2020 series of coins. Real nice. I mean, this one sold for $11.99. That's easy money all day long for this. Couple more coins left. We have a well off center Washington quarter, which has no date, but I don't think it really matters. I mean, this one has really nice surfaces. It's very lustrous. I would say it's a mid-state example. And this one, through 18 bids, sold for $35.84. I think where you're going to see a ton of value in this particular error is if you're able to find one on a Bicentennial quarter. Okay, you could just dispute that is going to be a 1976 because of how unique the reverse is on there. But wow, just a beautiful coin. If the fact that it doesn't have a date kind of like scares you, I wouldn't worry about it. Just having one that's way off center by about 70% and being mid-state, I think would make this one sell to a completely separate audience that just cares about having an example. 1973 Roosevelt dime. This thing is way off center by probably 80-85%. I think that's where this one really kind of wins over its audience. Well off center. You have a full date. We know it's a Philadelphia coin. It doesn't have a mint mark. Tremendous coin. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to say about this one. This one sold for $69.99. And then finally, this is going to be a coin, and it just so happens that this is our subject coin of the week. It's rotated dies. I mean, if you are not actively looking and flipping over those coins as you're going through them, whether you're a coin roll hunter, whether you're at the coin shop or show, or even when you're going through like BU rolls and mint sets, if you're not looking for these guys, come on. These are the most valuable coins that you could find out there. The older the coin, obviously, the more that they're going to be worth. But, rotated dies, if they're like 90 degrees, rotated either clockwise or counterclockwise, sometimes you'll find one that's 180 degrees, where if you did a coin turn on them, they're still going to be upside down. But this coin right here is rotated about 95 degrees counterclockwise, so to the right. And this is going to be more of a lesson. How do you photograph these things? Because sometimes you can just photograph them and kind of fool your buyers out there into thinking that it is a rotated die. But really, there's got to be like an easier way of really showcasing the true 100% proof of a rotated die. And if you're good with mirrors, guys, you're going to do something like this. This seller did probably the best job of showing the rotation on the coin just by using a mirror. All right, so you have a full obverse picture of the coin, and you also have the reverse picture of that rotation. Use a mirror. I mean, this is going to be just another tool in your tool chest. Take good, crisp photos, and you will be able to sell these all day long. So much so that this seller was able to score $114.95 for this rotated die Jefferson nickel. And keep in mind, it's not a rare date, not at all. And rotated dies you can find all the way up to the more modern dates as well. I think even as far up as like 2016, 17. Still haven't heard anything on much newer coins like 2019 and up, but yeah, these things are being found out there, and when the hammer dies are being seated in position on that mint press, sometimes they jar a little bit loose, or sometimes a mint employee will inadvertently have it rotated and they just don't know it. But yeah, man, this is a cool error, and again, they are extremely overlooked. A lot of people know that there's a lot of work involved with looking through these. It'll take looking through, for example, a $100 box of nickels, where normally it would take a regular person about an hour to go through that kind of volume of coin. But if you were looking for rotated dies, that's going to take that 1 hour venture and turn it into like 3-4 hours. And that's really what turns off a lot of prospective treasure hunters of these sort of things, is that the time level involved. So, I wanted to bring that up. Rotated dies, there you go. That's a good way of imaging these. It's probably the only really proven way to do so, with enough effectiveness to really show a legitimate example. But that's going to go ahead and do it, guys, for this week. I'd like to hear your thoughts on your favorite coin in this Pocket Change Market Report episode. A lot of great stuff to be had out there. We're coming to the holidays, which only means one thing. People are going to be actively looking for any sort of bankrolls or anything like that. As we know, there's been some rumblings of a possible second wave of a coin shortage. So you have to know about that as well. Make sure you get your bankrolls in advance and get ready for a very busy holiday season. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. But that's it, guys. I'm Sean with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe if you haven't done so already. And of course, if you don't like today's content, hit that dislike button. If you don't like me, hit the dislike button. It just is what it is. If you hate me, you obviously have issues with you too. But that's it, guys. That's going to do it. Best of luck in all of your hunts. And Coinaholics, we are discovering together. You guys take care. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend, by the way. And I'll see you on the next coin video. So long.